Hello all heroes and welcome back to Invincible Guard of the Globe, and today we have got a brand new restricted arena that has just begun. This time around we have just a basic faction arena here with the GDA faction. Now this is an interesting one for me because, as some of you may already know, I have built a bunch of duplicates. And a bunch, I mean two, but honestly, even building one is a lot. So, my GDA faction team is odd, especially considering that I have also kind of neglected this faction up until recently. So your team, ideally, is not going to look like this. Let's talk about the GDA faction and how it should look. So you'll see here, we've got my two duplicates. We've got Robot, Cecil, and Monster Girl for my team. The duplicates were more of the meme pick, at least the first one was. And then the second one I built up accidentally from before the skill reset was a thing. Or the hero reset was a thing, and then I just kind of committed to the bid at that point. So, for sure you're going to want Robot. That one is a given. Robot is a fantastic character, has been one of the best characters in the game, at least one of the best supports in the game, since day one, basically. He's a fantastic healer and is great out of the box. So that's really the first mainstay of the team. Next is, of course, Monster Girl. A lot of people are going to have Monster Girl. She is not as meta defining as she once was, just by nature of she's got a lot of competition nowadays, but a lot of that competition is not GDA, so she holds up pretty well. She can stun enemies with her main ability here, at least to a small degree. She can increase the defense of Guardians of the Globe allies. When she does have high HP, she does get a nice little attack boost there. And then instead of receiving shields, she does receive some healing. Now, I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't recall any GDA characters really giving shields. So unfortunately, this is not going to get you very far. But in spite of that, she just has really good stats, and her abilities do good damage. Now, that's the two heroes that I have who actually play ball well. I also have my Cecil cranked up, and Cecil, in this time around, Cecil actually does have a unique role, and that is almost solely because of this Thorn in Your Side ability, where enemy Guardians of the Globe will see their attack decreased by a percentage of Cecil's defense stat. That's 10% at level 1, going all the way up to 45%. Because you are facing off against fellow GDA faction heroes, almost all of them, in fact, basically all of them, are Guardians of the Globe, like Duplicate, not that you're going to see a lot of duplicates, Guardians of the Globe, Robot, Guardians, Monster Girl, Guardians. Frankly, there's a whole lot of bleed over on this, which is humorous considering that the very next one is going to be the Guardians of the Globe. So it's like literally all that does is cut out Cecil, and that's like it, which is real funky. I'm not sure why they've got those listed twice, or those listed as two separate things, because they are effectively the same minus Cecil. But the point is, for this time around, is that this ability will matter, because he's going to be fighting almost exclusively Guardians of the Globe, minus, of course, fellow Cecils. So while I have not had a whole lot of praise for Cecil's abilities on a normal day, in this very specific instance, his niche is actually fully realized with his Thorn in his side ability. All of his other abilities are okay. The hammer is actually pretty decent. The Reaniman is kind of a quirky little ability, but it really is this that's allowing him to be usable. Now, the Immortal is another one that I've had an extreme amount of praise for lately, because he is really freaking good and he has aged really freaking well. Oh lord, I did the forbidden act of hitting the auto equip button. You can do it, I believe. There we go. So we've talked about the Immortal a lot recently, because especially in the arena, he's been having a pretty good time. The biggies are that his main ability is pretty quick and can stun, and his shared healing, if you have it maxed out, basically means he is constantly getting healing from his fellow allies, which is especially important if you're running him with Robot or Shapesmith. This ability, I've talked about it before, this ability is fascinating because the difference between level 9 and level 10 is hilariously dramatic. I mean, like, level 9, you're getting one healing effect every 3 seconds. Level 10, constant. Like, the difference between those two is probably the sharpest power boost I have ever seen in a level difference from 9 to 10. If it wasn't for the fact that I have not given the Immortal any love and he's only at Epic plus 5 stars, I probably would crank this up just because of what it does for him. But alas, that's not the world we live in. We live in a world where I have completely neglected pretty much this entire faction up until recently. But basically, the Immortal is one of the best characters in the faction. Now let's talk about Shapesmith. Shapesmith's in an interesting position here, because the GDA faction has several support characters: Robot, Cecil, and Shapesmith. I would definitely put Shapesmith as better than Cecil, pretty easily. Is he better than Robot? There's some debate on that one, actually, and the fact that there's even a question at all already tells you that Shapesmith is pretty good. The fact that he does have this confusion ability, he can absorb damage and then heal his team by it, and we've come to the conclusion, I haven't completely verified this, but we've come to the conclusion that absorbing damage does mean he's taking less damage, more or less. So that does help him as well as his team. And he can yank enemies, and he can do all of this without a lick of skill boosts. If you do get his skills cranked up, then you can really get some cool stuff. The situation with that, though, is that Shapesmith is still pretty brand new. I don't think his nightmare is even done yet. So, yeah, Shapesmith would be amazing for this arena, but the problem with that is he's just so rare right now. He is still a brand new character that we don't have a lot of access to. Now, here's a situation, and this is the big reason why the GDA faction is arguably the worst faction, is that there are two attackers that are elites, not counting Duplicate, are Shrinking Ray and Bulletproof. And they're not that great, let's be honest here. They have their niches, but the niches just are not much compared to other characters. Now, again, since we are in a specific faction arena, these two characters do reclaim a bit of their market share. Ray has some cool stuff where she's actually immune to stuns and silence. That is actually a noteworthy perk. Being able to be immune to that is pretty cool, actually, because the Immortal Robot, even Monster Girl has a mini stun. They could all try to shut her down, and they will fail and very likely will end up getting stunned themselves if Shrinking Dodge is off cooldown. Next with Bulletproof. Bulletproof has always been aggressively discount Invincible. However, considering there is no Invincible in the GDA faction, he just kind of becomes their version of Invincible, because his ability does have a decently fast cooldown, and based on how many crit strikes he can get, he actually does get immunity. And he attacks decently fast too, so as long as he is getting those crits, then he actually can score some immunities. They're small immunities, it's only 3 seconds, but the cool thing about this ability is that it doesn't necessarily have a cooldown. So as long as he's getting those critical strikes, then he is getting those immunities. Bonus points, the fact that, kind of like how Shrinking Ray is immune to stun and silence, Bulletproof is immune to push and pull effects. I'm not sure how much of that you necessarily get in the faction. I think there are a few characters that have push abilities. Point is, these characters are not ideal on a normal day, but on this day, I mean, when you got no other options, they work. So if I had every GDA character powered up and ready to rock, and discounting Shapesmith, because I would use Shapesmith if I had him powered up, but very few people, if any, will. That's just the reality of it. I would want a team of the Immortal, Monster Girl, either Shrinking Ray or Bulletproof, one or the other, and then Robot and Cecil. I think a team like that would probably be the most ideal. If I could pick between Shrinking Ray and Bulletproof, I probably would pick Bulletproof, honestly. We got kind of a rare Bulletproof W here, just because he does have some small immunity effects. Now, if I had Shapesmith, I would love to use Shapesmith, because Shapesmith actually does have some pretty dang cool abilities. But alas, that is not the world that I live in right now. So we'll just kind of toss this. You'll see here, this is an interesting one, because we've got the Shapesmith and the Robot and the Cecil, so it's a triple support team. Double Defender's not too bad, because Monster Girl and the Immortal are just that good, and Monster Girl serves more of a bruiser role. I question the validity of the triple support strategy, though. I mean, I understand the temptation of wanting to use Cecil, Robot, and Shapesmith, but that's a lot of supporting. I mean, your team will be well supported, and it might even serve them well here. But I question the validity on a normal day. But unfortunately, of course, my team is probably not ideal, because I'm running with not one but two duplicates, which is probably gonna be punishing me real bad here. Oh yeah, I guess I could talk about Rexplode. I forgot about Rexplode, actually. Rexplode is interesting, because he's a rare character, but with a little bit of love and a little bit of luck, he can actually do some okay damage. We'll take a peek at the stats at the end of this fight and see how he does. Every now and then, Rexplode actually does a decent amount of damage. It's not going to be like beating Invincible, but he's got some okay abilities every now and then. So, you know, just if you have a Rexplode built, I mean, you might as well use him. Not the worst idea in the world. We are really having a hard time chewing through this robot. My entire team is wailing on him, and he is just taking it. Unfortunately, as much as they make me giggle, the fact that I have two duplicates on the team is probably doing my team a massive disservice. But that's more of a me issue. As far as practically, Hopefully you've got kind of teams like this where you have the Immortal built up. This team actually has 2 Immortals. What the heck is happening here? Fascinating. Most fascinating indeed. But yeah, so that is the restricted arena. I'm probably going to have a hard time here just because I do not have the GDA faction built up. And even though we'll probably do a video on it in a week, it is a little bit humorous that the very next one is going to be virtually the same minus Cecil. But after that, we got Attackers and From Worlds Beyond, which that'll be fun. That'll be real fun for me. But yeah, so that is what we have for today. Let me know what you think of this arena down in the comments below, and we shall see you next time. Have a good one.